There was a question in there, and then we'll...
First of all, I think we've already all in designing therapeutics that produce a response, hopefully shown. You need to characterize your subpopulations that are there. It's not all Crohn's disease. It's comparable, either probably genesis or insusceptibility. Basically, all of the ones who have gene cancer probably need to be taken out. Those who do not have gene cancer. Across the board, you're going to get these results as you already have.
Okay, so the comment, I guess, is Carol's to be congratulated, and I certainly reiterate that. I think it was actually a Herculean effort to put that together. And the other comment for those in the back is that if you were to go forward with antibiotic trials, the careful selection and stratification and perhaps exclusion of certain patients with certain parameters would have to be considered quite carefully. Otherwise, putting a mixed bag of patients into the same antibiotic trial might not be rewarding. Is that an effective way to characterize it?
The third thing was the response on the August 8, 2008.
Okay. Okay.
What was the response to the release of the...
Was there a response?
Was there?
I'm used to people ignoring everything I wrote.
Exactly.
Did people respond to you?
No. So is it, what was the response to the publication?
Yeah, there was an additional response who said that this issue is urgently addressed. The timeline is that was the essence.
Okay,
Good.
so somebody feels that...
Actually, it goes back to something else because to be a declaration of food safety. You said that basically you cannot disregard when there is irreversible damage. Do not go to absolute confirmation that action must be taken. And the United States signed the Rio Declaration because New York is treaty service.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. There's a question here, and then I think we should...
Early diagnosis of Crohn's disease. I'm not a gastroenterologist.
I think the best thing to do is as a clinician, you don't jump in and make an early diagnosis on a patient if you're looking out after that patient. I don't make a diagnosis until it slaps me in the face and I am sure that it is Crohn's disease. If you start seeing some minor symptoms, minor signs that you think could be Crohn's, where you don't really need the heavy treatments, it's not in the patient's best interest. The diagnosis of Crohn's disease is a clinical diagnosis. It is based on a pattern, and the pattern is symptoms that are consistent with some signs. You look at the gastrointestinal tract. If there are abnormalities of inflammation in skip lesions or in the distal, and especially lesions in the small bowel, then you'll say this is consistent with the syndrome of Crohn's disease, and then you get labeled. What's happening now in American gastroenterology, which is a problem, is they're coming out with antibody tests that correlate but are not specific for Crohn's disease, and gastroenterologists that really aren't that interested in Crohn's disease will run an antibody profile and start labeling somebody as Crohn's disease. So if you think you're all messed up here, we're really messed up in the gastrointestinal world. So if that helps, that's the answer.
Although I'd just like to add my opinion to that. I think it's very fashionable for microbiologists to say, well, if the gastroenterologist can't put the patients in the right bins, we can't do the epi and we can't provide the tools. But in fact, the gastroenterologists have had spectacular successes with whole genome-wide association studies, and if there was really so much misclassification, they wouldn't have found these genes and wouldn't have found them so reproducibly. So I think that the responsibility of this audience is to make better tools and bring the better tools, and it's not sufficient for us to say, well, it doesn't really matter what tools we have because the gastroenterologists can't put the patients in the bins. I think they've done it adequately enough, and now we have to deliver the goods. Robert had a question, and I'm going to want to stop after that.
I have a question. It is, where do you think we're going to get more insights from comparing with tuberculosis or with leprosy?
I see no reason not to look at all three diseases because they're not as dissimilar as we want them to be. There are parts of each of them that are in common, and the tools that are developed for leprosy or tuberculosis may be valuable for MAP research and vice versa. So I think basically all mycobacteriologists need to talk to each other. There's no sense in segregating ourselves into leprosy or tuberculosis or MAP. We all have common problems. These are family members. They're cousins, if not close siblings. And so there are going to be some special issues that will cross all of them. And we need to know what those are, and we need to help each other figure out the differences and the similarities.
And on that note, I'd like to thank Carol once again for a fantastic presentation. And at this point, I believe Ramon takes over the room for the IAP meeting. Sorry, Ramon, you were on time for your talk, and our session went into yours, and I hope you can do your job. Thank you.